I retired as a full-time firefighter paramedic at the Village of Glenview back in 2023, July 8th. But I spent almost 25 years in EMS, and I have a passion to make sure people are cared for prior to EMS's arrival.
First part of building a business is hard sometimes. You don't have the amount of sales that you need to be able to come through, so to be able to carry the firefighting.
Right.
As you built that sounds pretty smart of you.
Statistically speaking, a patient has about an 85% chance of survival if an AED is put on their chest within 3 minutes. EMS's average response nationally is like 8 to 12 minutes. By having that education to be able to react in a timely fashion is going to give somebody a potential chance at survival.
Hey, what's going on, friends? Jason here with the Love Local Chicagoland podcast. I'm excited to introduce you today to Dave Cotterell. He's an ex-firefighter. He's now retired, and he was a paramedic as well in Glenview. Now he's built a business called Downers Grove CPR, where he's helping build services and products to be able to help businesses and companies save lives, not just internally, but giving their employees life-saving, tools in their tool belt to be able to help people, maybe even at home. My friends, I'm excited for you to get to know him because he's a really good man. He believes in community. He believes in helping others. And as I put these stories together from the people that I meet, I kind of see their story at large. And there's a common trend that you're going to see with Dave that is he's here to help. He wasn't always a perfect, handsome man like he is today. He once considers himself an outcast. He has a lot of respect from his brother. And I think we're going to find a lot of commonalities with us, with him in this conversation. But at the same time, he could help you and your employees with the CPR stuff to make sure that you're taken care of and you're making sure that your employees are taken care of too. So enough of me talking. Let me introduce you to Dave. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, excited to have this conversation. The first time I met you, I feel like, I feel people's energy. I'm like, I'm going to talk to this guy one day. And, probably a year and a half later or so, we're sitting here doing that. So a lot of gratitude for the friendship that we built. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I think you're doing really good things, man. And you're doing it from just this place of like wanting to be a good human and wanting to be able to take your life's experiences and to be able to see the need within our community with what you're doing with Downers Grove CPR to be able to help people like save lives. I think that's important. But before we get there, I really want our audience to kind of get to know you, kind of start a little bit off, just give them a high level overview. Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you with those kind words because I felt the same way with you. I mean, what you're doing here with this podcast, spreading words of other stories that can empower people. And that's what we're here for, right? We're here to help people be empowered to save a life, whether it's save a life in a cardiac arrest or some other medical problem that's going to help them get care at the hospital. But Dave Cotterell, Downers Grove CPR. I retired as a full-time firefighter paramedic at the Village of Glenview back in 2023, July 8th, to be exact, was my last shift. But I spent almost 25 years in EMS, and I have that passion to make sure people are cared for prior to EMS's arrival, because without that, I did get to see a lot of downside to that. When people are cared for properly, it doesn't guarantee that they would be in a non-grave situation, but they're definitely better off before we arrive.
Yeah, it helps decrease the risk, right? With having the knowledge that you are able to bring to the table to be able to teach people. I'm looking forward to diving into your business and how you serve people here in a little bit. But I think one of my big goals with this Love Local Chicagoland podcast is just it's about humanizing our communities. I think that's important. And I think we all have a story. And I think at the core of our stories, there's probably a lot of commonalities that many of us could be able to relate with. Can you take our audience back to who you were growing up?
Where do we start there, right?
Small talk.
So my story is not unlike a lot of people, especially our age, where our parents got divorced. Mom was on her own. So my life was not always in the same place. I didn't have that community where you built it up as you went along and created friends, and you kept those friends, maybe lose them here and there. But in general, you're with those same people all the time, right? So it was a lot of restarting. It was a lot of trying to start a new school.
You went to a lot of different schools, right?
Yeah,
We had that commonality.
My brother and I just counted it. I think I went to 8 different, and he went to 11 different schools throughout our growing up. So each time you're restarting, right? And you always felt like that outcast, and you're the new guy. So, not to try and have a pity party here, but that kind of education wasn't back then known like it is today, where you don't just go after somebody because they're different looking or sound different. I love that about today's day and age. But it definitely was tough back then, right? Something we dealt with. And I think in general, it made me who I am today, though.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think we all have our stories, and they shape us in whatever way, that they're supposed to. And I think talking to you about that, I have commonalities with being able to go. I think I went to 8 different schools too, and then I remember moving to Las Vegas, and it does impact you as a child. And I think as I reflect, even as I got to an adult, that did have an impact on me, right? And it sounds like that did for you too. And maybe in a positive way, you see the world in different ways. But as a kid growing up, there's a lot to be able to work through. Being an outcast as a young child isn't always easy. It could carry your heart a little bit and make it a little heavy, at least in my experience.
Right.
It sounds like you could relate there. How do you think being an outcast growing up, or feeling like an outcast growing up, how do you think that shaped you to who you are today?
I feel like we're going through a therapy session here.
Well, I do make people cry from time to time, but not today. But
you might.
It's we all have our journeys, man. And if we're able to look into our journeys and be real with them, like to me, I think the commonalities with you, there's a lot of people out there that have those same commonalities. So I think it's important for us to kind of just show who we are as humans for that. So yeah, no small talk though.
So going back to that, I feel like it gave me the perspective of trying to make sure that people are understood no matter where they come from, right? Making sure that they have a place to go, have empowerment. So I didn't feel like I had resources. I had my brother. My brother was my rock when I was growing up, but I didn't have a lot of resources to deal with those feelings that I had, those problems that arose. It was a lot of just kind of deal with it. And, growing up, again, not having those solutions or a way to find your way through that problem, I feel like what we give now through our business is helping people to be able to navigate medical problems, trauma problems, things that could potentially be life or death. But again, it gives them some kind of pathway so they don't feel helpless or hopeless.
Yeah, you mentioned that your brother was a rock for you growing up. What did he teach you?
I am, first of all, middle child of 11, so there's a lot of us, but it's through a lot of different marriages. But the brother that was with me the most was Carl. He and I lived with my mom. Again, my mom was a single mom. So by having him around all the time, he was the person I went to. He was who supported me. He was my cheering section. He was the one who told me I was doing something stupid and how to correct it, right? You know how brothers are. They put you in your place. But he has always, throughout my whole life, been that person who is my my cheering section, and always good advice, whether it's business or just personal, especially business. He's really good at, but he always kept you on the straight and narrow, and trying to point you in the right directions.
That's awesome. It sounds like he had a really impact on your life, and he was a rock for you and supported you, you know, and your mom, I'm sure she's doing the best she could, right? But when you have to work to, put food on the tables, I feel like my dad was there, but he wasn't there. So I was very much single mom life too. And it's a little bit different of a life for sure. So to have that brother that was your rock to help kind of guide and support you, it sounds like he has a little bit of that helper in him too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He would give you the shirt off his back and not know you. I mean, if you need it, he's 100% in for you.
That sounds like a Cotterell heart then, because I'm seeing a trend here, my friend.
That technically is a bussy heart.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Bussy heart. All right.
like I said, middle child of 11. There's a lot of us with different fathers, different.
Yeah.
families.
All
So,
respect,
yeah.
man. When did you, for growing up like that, when did you realize that you wanted to be able to help people, and how did you turn that desire into action?
As far as like a pivotal point that says, hey, you should be helping people, going into the fire service, there's a pivotal point. But before that, it was always, say you would be driving down the street and you'd see somebody broke down, right? I had that happen to me. My first car was like a old Ford LTD2. That thing was janky, but it got me from point A to point B. And some guy just stopped and helped me.
It was a classic janky. All right.
So I was broke down on Route 83 and couldn't get the car started, had plenty of fuel, yada, yada, yada. The guy pulls up behind me and helps me. I mean, this guy, he looked like he hardly had 2 nickels to rub together, yet he still stopped to help me and drove me to where I needed to go. And I'm a teenager. I had nothing going on. So that if you're going to give it a pivotal point as far as like how kindness in the world goes a long way in helping other people, that could be it from a stranger.
Yeah.
You know, again, my brother and other family members, but again, Carl always being there is one huge thing as well. As far as like throughout life, before I found out I wanted to be a fireman, I would try and return that. Somebody broke down on the road, I'd try and help them. Saw an accident or whatnot, try to help. Trying to make a difference when other people were in need.
Yeah, that's. I feel like we need more of that in our world. I feel like when we were kids, maybe you saw that a little bit more. Now it's. I don't know if we see a lot of that.
Right.
That kind of comes out, and but that's beautiful. Like it's paying it forward. Like it. What I'm hearing you say is it feels good to be helped when you need help.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you can pay it forward and make somebody else feel good, like life is just better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were in construction, then you got into firefighting. What was that discussion for you, like internally, to be like, okay, I'm in construction, but I want to be a firefighter?
Funny thing was, it started on a bike ride. So
Nice.
my first wife and I used to bike ride all the time down that prairie path, and I believe it was West Chicago Fire Department. I think it was an afternoon on a weekend, and some guy was barbecuing, a couple guys were playing Frisbee, and another guy was mowing the lawn. And my wife at the time was like, you like all those things. Why don't you check out that job? So I just started researching what it would entail and what the job actually is. Took a couple classes through College of DuPage, see if I could handle the medical side, and it was a steamroller from there. It just kept on going.
It's courageous of you, man. You know, I look at people that go in lines of service, whether it's police, whether it's firefighters, military, et cetera. And to me, it's a different type of human. You're able to carry kind of chaos around you, but stay level headed through that. I think it's work that is so important within our society, and I feel like we need to continue to show more love to the people that serve us in our local communities, because they are truly helping. What part of being in the firehouse teach you about unity and working with people from all different walks of life?
So again, coming from that whole broken family, for lack of better words, I loved that camaraderie. You know, you're living with these men and women 24 hours on, 48 hours off. So out of a 72-hour period, a third of your life, you're with this family, and you guys accomplish a lot of amazing things. So
It's family, it's community,
having that
right?
family and
Like,
community, yeah. And that's what I longed. You know, I longed for that as a kid, right? You know, but again, you're with these people for 24 hours, and you're in close quarters, right? You're not able to just take off and go to the grocery store or go for a run. You have to be together all the time, and that really does force you to understand how other people is the way they are, and everybody has positives. I know I have a lot of negatives too, that people had to live with me, and I have to live with them. So it definitely makes you think and makes you learn how to handle other people.
And have grace for one another. Right?
Absolutely.
And understanding, like none of us are perfect, right?
Right.
When you live with each other, you see that.
Because their lives are in my hand, my life is in their hands too, as well, depending on what the call is.
Sure.
So it's definitely something that you have to learn to live with, and learn to appreciate with each other. I'm sure every single job, there's somebody that you just don't get along with the best, but when crap hits the fan, you are a team, and that's what it boils down to as far as I'm concerned.
You focus on the mission at hand, right? And
Right.
whatever that is, and you leave the differences behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were doing that. How long were you a firefighter for?
So career-wise, I was there for 22 years.
Awesome.
I did a little part-time at getting my foot in the door with York Center Fire Protection District, which is down by me. And it was a way to get your foot in the door. And I continued with them for about 10 years. But yeah, probably a total of 24 years when it's all said and done.
Okay, that's awesome, man. It's a lot of service to our local communities. 24 years is pretty remarkable. What gave you the idea to be able to build Downers Grove CPR?
Again, Carl. So Carl was the
Seeing a
catalyst.
trend.
He was the catalyst. So within the fire department, we do teach our own. So there's certain things that we can do for ourselves as far as training, and CPR training is one of them. And there's one day he owned a company that did mining, and so they needed the training, and he asked me, and I wound up training for him, doing that for him. And shortly thereafter, my wife had extra room in her facility. She owns a Pilates studio, and she had this extra room. And she's like, why don't you just use that extra room and try and schedule classes, see what you can do with this? And it just started building to a point where she's like, you're bringing in 8 extra people on top of the 8 to 10 people that are there. We need to get you out on your own. Let's get you someplace else. So it was really just organic. It was not me setting out to do this job. I saw.
And was that after you're a firefighter, or were you still a firefighter at this time?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I started the business about 7 or 8 years before I did retire.
Awesome.
So it really did help me be able to retire at the age that I did.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It gave you a little bit of jump start, additional cash flow, and then you lean into that building a business instead of the first part of building a business is hard sometimes. You don't have the amount of sales that you need to be able to come through. So to be able to carry the firefighting,
right,
as you built that sounds pretty smart of you.
And it's with like I said, having the wife there, it was a very economical way to start up. We just started slow. It was as we saw more and more people actually wanting it. I knew the need for it, right, because of my experience in the fire department. But as I started really seeing the people's want for it, it really grew.
Yeah, I could see that. So what specifically do you help people with the services and products that you offer?
So we did start off originally as a basic training company. So we provide today, American Heart Association, American Red Cross, Health Safety Institute courses, but we started off with American Heart Association, just your simple CPR classes. There's classes for, it's called Heart Saver. It is for your warehouse workers, your Pilates instructors, your fitness instructors, people who need that card that says that they got the training. Then you go into the medical, which is BLS provider, and then we have advanced cardiac life support classes for adults and pediatrics. We've since added Health Safety Institute, which is another awesome program, which all these programs do follow the same curriculum. They just add terminology here and there. They might do one thing a little bit different. But long story short, we now offer Red Cross as well. So we do offer all that training that the customer needs.
Awesome. So if somebody's looking for you, a company, they're calling you, you're able to walk through exactly what they need. You do like an audit of sorts or something, or how does that look?
So we first find out what they're calling us for, right? If they already know what they want, we provide that for them. We do have other services that we can help them with, but initially it's going to be that training. Get the training done, give them what they want, try and see where we can save them money. Because again, depending on what the customer needs, i.e., let's say a hospital worker, they need American Heart Association typically in the Chicagoland area. But an office worker, they could choose whichever one they want. They might want the big nameplate, or they might be perfectly fine with that cost-saving Health Safety Institute, right? So we want to give them what they want and know that they have options, because that's what we're here to do, is to give them what they want with the best product available.
And what they need to be able to help, their team, do what they need to be able to do within their building.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
What are, I think of CPR, and I guess, I'm under now, like, I don't have the knowledge, obviously, that you do with it, but I think about, like, I'm in rooms that there's probably kits, or there's things there to be able to help people, and I'm not even aware of it. But what are some situations where that they're needed, that you need, that you've seen? What are some stories?
As far as customers?
Yeah, like what is happening to be able to make those things happen within this business?
So first and foremost, there are certain businesses that are required to have training. So outside of that, to get people to understand what training does for them, sometimes comes too late. So the hardest customer I have is when they contact me after somebody perishes and nobody did anything.
Yeah.
So
you're managing a lot of emotions there too, probably.
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. And unfortunately, that does happen. But then other companies that I talk to, that just through conversation, like our conversations that we've had plenty of times, where they just start learning about the importance of it. And so if I could provide that service to them to give them that empowerment to be able to react, that's our goal. My drive is to make sure that the customer is happy, and I want to make sure that they get that, right? I also look at my product as a benefit, as a benefit to your employee. So if you are providing this training to your employee and they go off to a family event and they wind up saving one of their family members, how awesome is it that you, the boss, gave that to them, right? They did the work, right? They actually had to study, they had to actually perform in the class, but they had that education that you helped give them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is, there's like an immense amount of gratitude I would think would come from somebody during that situation, if they ever needed to use it on the outside.
Right.
We're getting ready to kind of unwind here. Questions I kind of like to end with is like words of wisdom to the community. And I kind of want to look at this two ways from you. I want to look at it from Downers Grove CPR and your wisdom to the community, but I want to start with, somebody, words of wisdom to like the people in the community that maybe felt like they were an outcast growing up, that maybe feels like an outcast now. What's your words to them to like just feel better about themselves and about life?
Oh, God. First and foremost, there's always somebody out there to help you. Again, since I've met you, I think you've helped me out in a lot of navigating my business in this aspect, the social media aspect, the getting the word out there in different ways. A lot of mine was always verbal, and you've opened my eyes to that. So having people to talk to, trying to find those people that do understand what you want and what you need, might not be the easiest, but just to keep on plugging, because it's not all that bad.
No.
Right? We've all had times where we're down in the dumps, where don't have that direction, but there's definitely resources out there.
Yeah. And people, right? Find your people.
People.
Right? Find your people, find your community. And it's, I think that's the most important thing any of us could do. And if you're not in community, like people should go get in one right away, because life is better in community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now to the business owners, the nonprofit leaders out there, community members that maybe, aren't a business owner, but maybe work in a corporation. What's your advice to them to be more prepared in case a crisis comes their way?
Again, the training is one of the top things. By having that education to be able to react in a timely fashion is going to give somebody a potential chance at survival, depending on how severe it is, right? The other is equipment. If you don't have the proper equipment to care for them, yes, EMS is going to be bringing that equipment, but if you don't always have it firsthand, sometimes it doesn't matter that EMS is coming, because that equipment needs to be in
Too late.
so early.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, a patient has about an 85% chance of survival if an AED is put on their chest within 3 minutes. So, that's huge. EMS's average response nationally is like 8 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that could happen positively by having the proper tools and education.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense to me. So so take care of that, because you don't know when you're going to need it, but it's better to take care of it and not need it than the other way. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I look at it as, you pay for insurance, correct? And we hope to never use that, yet we still pay for it.
Yeah.
And what's a life worth?
Yeah.
What is a life worth?
Yeah, it's priceless, right? So,
Right.
what else do you want from our community to know about you at Downers Grove CPR?
We are more than just a training company. So we do have other services and products that we can provide to our customers, i.e. AED sales. So if anybody doesn't know what an AED is, it is an automated external defibrillator. So that is what helps the heart correct its imbalance of cardiac rhythm, potentially putting it back into a normal rhythm. And that's what's going to save the patient's life. We offer management system for that, and that is complementary to our customers. We want to make sure that those AEDs are ready. And then lastly, we do sell trauma products, so we can help them prepare for a potential life-threatening bleed.
Beautiful, man. Well, thanks for sharing. If somebody's looking to be in contact with you to learn more about your services, where can they do that at?
So we do have a website, downersgrovecpr.com. You can send smoke signals to me. You can call me, 630-309-4009. And of course, email is always away at david@downersgrovecpr.com.
That's awesome. Smoke signals from a retired firefighter here out of Glenview. So thanks, man. I appreciate you being here today and just being real and then getting into business too. I think that's important, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm grateful for our friendship, and I know we're just getting started. So who knows, might be able to do this again down the road. So
sounds awesome.
Appreciate you, man, and have a great day. And
you as well.
We look forward to getting this out with you. My friends, I think you're going to need some of Dave's services in some of your businesses that are out there. It's better to have it and never need it than to be able to get to a point where you needed it, but it's too late. My friends, you look at that, give him a call and reach out. You've seen his heart. You've seen where he comes from. You know who he is. He's going to take really good care of you. It's CPR. It's those types of services at the end of the day, but he's doing it in a very communal way. And as you get to know him, you'll get to know that even more. So make sure to go check out Downers Grove CPR and Dave Cotterell if you need those services, my friends. We appreciate you so much here on the Love Local Chicagoland. Support local, love local, and we're stronger together. Peace.